What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi back with my man Sheets. We are doing the PGA 3M Open. More excitingly, we've got everything coming up. It's going to be action-packed. I mean, Sheets has already got action-packed stuff going on with NASCAR and MMA. I got golf, and then we've got baseball coming, and then hopefully basketball right behind it. So it's an exciting time for DFS. It's an exciting time. There's a lot going on. Sheets, what are your thoughts? What's going on for you over there?
So, as you know, I took yesterday. I dropped my daughter off for actually her senior year in college. So I had that day kind of set aside for that. And interestingly, I did and I'm so psyched for the way I do my process with golf, because again, I launched my own stuff on Monday and without looking at any content or whatever. And then I just kind of, it's funny from my perspective to see just kind of the way the group think, just kind of like of all the industry, just kind of just starts to get concentrated and concentrated and concentrated. And on the one hand, I like to get a lot of people's takes, and then the other hand, I also like to observe how people just jump on certain guys, you know, and just kind of ignore other guys that are just kind of close to them, right? Mm-hmm. So this was my take on Monday. And unfortunately, it hasn't changed. Okay, I tried to make it work. I didn't even try, really. I mean, but I thought of making it work where I could change it. But you're gonna have to either talk me off of this or just say, okay, Sheets, you know, you do what you got to do, whatever. But we can all kind of agree that this is a weak field, okay? And I of the opinion that either that Dustin Johnson could win this event by 7 strokes. Okay. I also, and that might not be as kind of a wild opinion. You know, I mean, a lot of people, I guess everybody agrees he's the best player in the field, whatever. But I don't think people realize how much weaker this field is. You know what I mean? Like this, you have 10 guys that are gone that all could win a tournament. You know what I mean? If all 12 of them were in it. And for me, I mean, I'm going to have either Dustin Johnson, and I'll get to the other guy in a second, in literally one of them in every one of my lineups, okay? Because I think that –
Who's the other one you said?
I'm going to get to it.
Sorry.
And one of these two guys I really think is going to win. And both of them I think could win by 5 strokes minimum. And I think that they could both kind of run away from the field. And the guy that and I knew that this was going to happen, okay, is I'm going to be into Koepka, and I'm going to tell you why. Right? Mm-hmm. I know I'm totally receptive of the ACL thing and the MRI, and he looks like shit and all this stuff. And even on Monday, I said, listen, I'm one of two ways here. I really don't see how he's playing, okay? I feel as though that he should be probably taking a week off if he's really hurt or whatever it is. But yet on the other hand, okay, I kind of look at him like Kyle Busch, all right, from NASCAR, which you don't know too much about the way I've been talking about him. Like he's had issues, like all kinds of issues beating these tough fields. And so what I suggested 3 weeks ago is that Kyle Busch should just go back into the minors and beat up on a truck series or something like that. And that's exactly what he did last week. I think that Koepka, if he plays, I think it's because he's healthy enough to play, and and this is a tournament he could really, really win. All right, so I feel as though that I am going to be focusing on Johnson and Koepka winning the tournament, and possibly the two of them just skipping off by a lot, right? Because the guys that are right under him, again, you can talk me off of this, but so we got Fleetwood, Casey, and Finau, right? And for me, a guy like Fleetwood, and again, this is without the stats or whatever, all this stuff, is a guy that I like to avoid. He's coming off the layoff, and he's the new shiny toy that everybody's been kind of like, I couldn't win playing this guy, can't win playing this guy. Oh, my God, finally Fleetwood's back. Maybe I'll try him, okay? And then Finau, I'm just not interested in coming off of that performance last week. And we were playing him at 8,200 among all these other guys, and all of a sudden he's the best player in the world because he finally had a good week. I'd rather not play him. And Casey was a really pretty good value play last week, whatever. But they're pricing him among these top 5 like he's as good as these guys. And I don't know. what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be playing Johnson or Koepka in probably every lineup, and I'm really going to be focusing on some guys in the 7K range. I am, and we could talk about the 8K guys, like Burns and what's his name, and Van Rooyen and Redmond, and all these guys that have become really, really popular. I think like English and all these guys. But I think I'm going to be living up at the top and in the 7K range, and maybe even a couple of 6K guys. And we can go through the actual lineups. But what's your overall view after like another day of thinking about it?
So I've really, I tend to agree with the thinking about the spending up. I actually think doing it double spend up is the right way to go. There's just such high variance, and there's so many guys you can get really cheap that I don't know, Sam Ryder is maybe not as good as Sam Burns is at $1,200 cheaper and low ownership. You know what I mean? You're going to be able to fill out lineups like that.
I forgot. Yeah, wait. I gotta share my lineup, my screen with you.
Yeah, share the screen
because
Thigala. There's a ton of wild card guys.
Because as you see, Sam Ryder, I have like 40% of.
I love it. And Shank too is another one that I like. Seamus Powers, you have a little bit, but he's a guy who I like a little bit too. I like going back to what we were doing before. Like there is a quality drop off from the top to the other guys. And there's guys who I like to win the tournament potentially that are cheaper. If I was doing a cash game build, I would be not probably paying up above, I don't even know, 9,400 maybe, just balance out. But if I was playing, we're playing tournaments here, I'm sort of just pivoting, you know what I mean? I'm going to have over the field on all the top guys except for Finau. He's the only one I'll probably have half the ownership of the field on him. I still think he's fine for this course. It's just weird to pay that price for a guy who just doesn't win. These other guys, I mean, look, if Koepka's just normal Koepka, we're great. If DJ is DJ, he's great. I actually, unlike you, really do like Fleetwood. I have a bias towards him in general. I really like him. I think he's probably like overall a very underrated golfer, and even his price, it's a little strange that I guess if he had been playing, you could argue that he'd be ahead of these guys, like especially the way DJ and Koepka looked last week. So I actually like Fleetwood quite a bit. I do agree with the layoff. He did shoot a 64, I guess, last week or something like that, as Caddy said, in a tough course. But maybe coming stateside at reasonable ownership, I could argue against it. But overall, I think trying to get a couple of those guys in and then playing the wild card guys in the middle. And also, I don't mind going back to Matt Wolff like some people are seeming like you shouldn't do because he's going to be owned. But I think he's fine as a guy to take a shot on because he can win this tournament. But I also think you can get value from guys like Will Gordon, although I'm not going to play as much of him because the ownership's going to be there. But Burns is another one who I like quite a bit, and I think can make a run here. I really like Johnny Vegas. I think Johnny Vegas suits this course extremely well. I'll have well over 20%, maybe even 30% of Vegas. I love Chase Seifert at a cheap price. I love Keith Mitchell. So I like the idea of what you're saying. I like going up and then going down. But my most owned right now would be Fleetwood, then DJ. And it's, and Casey's right there. But I mostly want to use Casey as my number 2 spend, if that makes sense. I don't want to use him as my highest owned spend unless I'm probably going to play a guy like Wolff, a guy who might have that upside to maybe pull away in a tournament like this if he's really got it going. So that's just sort of the way I'm looking at it, going all the way up and then maybe one middling player and then, taking shots on these low-end guys, having 15% Keith Mitchell, Cameron Davis, 10% plus of Thigala, going back to Harry Higgs on an easier course at, 7 to 10%. Taylor Gooch, I'll have 20+% of. There's a lot of cheap guys that I have interest in, taking 20 to 25%, 15%, whatever shots. Matt Neesmith, I'll have 15% of probably. Christoph, Ventura, I'll probably have 15% of. And I'm just going to be spreading those low guys with the upper guys and sort of leaving out the guy who I really like, which is Glover. If I was playing cash games, I don't think you could leave him off of that cash game lineup, but I don't know that I'm going to play him here. I actually prefer, if I was going to spend in that range, to play Harris English or Russell Henley. So sort of avoiding some of a little bit of the chalk there, but mostly focusing on I can differentiate. I'm going to be different no matter what by my multiple spend downs on guys who are going to be pretty unowned. But mostly focusing on trying to get 2 of the upper spends who I trust in the lineups and hoping that 1 or 2 of them can sort of pull away from the field.
Hey, so let me share a couple of thoughts from the other sites, okay? Just because I did a little work on them, and I'm playing all the sites this week.
Mhm.
Just if people are going to play the other sites, there's a couple of just incredible standout differences with respect to values that I don't know if people with all the other stuff going on, if people are going to be on top of it.
Mhm.
Couple of things is one guy I'm playing just a bunch of. He's got to be really really high owned, I would imagine, but maybe not. Brendan Grace is 7,000 on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. He's
and
definitely.
and that's kind of that's an incredible standout with respect to just relative value.
Mhm.
And another one, again, if you play the site, Sam Burns is the stone minimum on Yahoo. Um, there are like actually a couple of guys who are stone minimum on Yahoo, which you could just like Stallings is almost the minimum, so you could if you do play Yahoo, hey, it's 5,000 for first. I mean, that is something that I just wanted to just let you guys know that those are just particular kind of standouts. And the other thing that I want to do is just because we didn't talk about this, I want to go over some of the guys that I have like a kind of a decent percentage of that maybe haven't been really talked about that much because I've watched a bunch of podcasts the last day or so, and yeah, there are people that are on some of these guys, but there's a couple of guys that have just kind of popped for me for whatever reason that just I've had like almost zero hits with as far as other people talking about. First of all, the Seamus Power thing starting to pop up a little bit. A lot of people are not a lot of people. People are talking about him because he's 6,500, and he did have a really good round. You know what I mean? Um, so that's why I just kind of threw him here. I threw him in here just kind of for fun to see what I could do if I wanted to play Dustin and Koepka together, which is very very difficult on DraftKings. But some of the guys you might see. Charles Howell III, I'm just going to be just incredibly over the. I actually had to trim him to get him down to 28% or something. And
Wow.
he's just he's a guy that just fits along the lines of a lot of other guys in that price range.
Well, that's an
That's
interesting guy because I actually have I had quite a bit of Hoffman, and then they revealed that there was something wrong with his arm. I know he's trying to make up points, so he's definitely motivated, but they're the same price, and I've been sort of debating between those two guys a little bit when I've run into that spot. So
okay.
kind of interesting to hear your thoughts on it.
And so I like him. Stallings I just like as a pure price play. Again, that's no secret. I mean, a lot of people are going to be on him, I presume. Uh, Adam Shank, I don't know how many people are playing him. I mean, I don't even know if I need 34% of him, but as for the under 7K range, I like him a lot. I was between him and Neesmith. I'm probably going to end up playing both of them. Kind of moving up Neesmith and down on Shank a little bit. We already talked about Sam Ryder. I have a pretty decent amount of him. Oh, everybody around the same kind of price range. And there was another guy so I might want to get more of this guy, this Weisberger. Again, I don't know how much I'm going to get of him, whatever. But you mentioned Fleetwood, right? So apparently, I mean, this Weisberger is like a top 30 golfer. Like in world rank. We don't really follow him too much because he's more of a European Tour guy. But John Rahm I think won the European Tour FedEx Cup exam, whatever that is over there. And then Fleetwood was second. I think Weisberger was third. You know what I mean? Like this is like he's like a real player. You know what I mean? And he's really really cheap. And I presume some people are going to play him, but if he gets overlooked or something, I'm probably going to end up probably getting a little bit more of him. The guys that I'm a little worried about, I guess it's from the stock market days, like the story that's like way too easy to tell. Like guys like Van Rooyen, Redman, English, guys like that are, they could certainly win, but from an ownership perspective, those guys they could be 20%. No, I mean,
Yeah.
if so, I might have to stay off them a little bit. Max Homa, I have a good 20% of. Aaron Wise, I'm pretty heavy on also. Again, my usual thing. I'm only playing like 20, 25 lineups, so I'm not going to have that many players. So when you see like big percentages, don't think it's like, oh my God, he loves this. I mean, if I were playing 150 lineups, I wouldn't have the same percentage of some of these guys. But just, again, because we didn't do a review before, these happens to be the guys I'm doing. Lucas Glover, you mentioned. I didn't play him as much on DraftKings, but I have him a lot on FanDuel actually. I think part of it is because I played, what's his name, Brendan Grace at 7K, so it allowed me to get in like Johnson and like either Casey or Fleetwood and the guy I just mentioned and Lucas Glover. You know what I mean? So I played like a lot of Glover on FanDuel.
Yeah. I'm more on Glover on FanDuel as well, just because of the way the lineups worked out, and I think that I'm more focused on just a couple big buy-in tournaments over there, so I'm not as worried about the ownership on certain things. But yeah, I mean, I'm still sort of struggling with the guys at the top. It's hard to feel good about any of them with the way they looked, and then there's just huge question marks. But I think being overweight on them in general, except for I think it's risky maybe, but like if Finau wins the tournament, I'm going to lose, like probably. But that's just the way that it is. And I would rather bank on the other guys. I'm sort of with you more on this Koepka thing the more I think about it, and I definitely will be 20+% of them. I want to have 25% DJ and I want to have 30+% of Fleetwood. So I'm going to have to pay down for these guys. And I think that's where you can take some really interesting shots. Neesmith, is a guy we'd gone to. I mentioned Thigala, who top-ranked college player in the world.
You mentioned him in your in your. I didn't really get a chance to do more research on him except for what you said. He's the D1 champion, right?
Yeah, he hasn't, and he just won last week, I believe it was, or something like that. On I don't know,
the Corn Ferry or something.
Whatever it was, I don't know. I just heard that he did, but yeah. So him, Powers, obviously. I mentioned I don't mind going back to Harry Higgs in this kind of environment, especially like. He's one of those guys who could end up being like 35th place and outscore the guys in the top 20, just because he's wild and all over the place and he can birdie it up. I don't mind going back to Tyler Merritt as another cheap guy. Definitely want to have at least double-digit percentage of him, but I love Patrick Rodgers. I think Patrick Rodgers is going to be one of my heaviest owned players this week, and I think the ownership will go to other guys around him. I like him and Homa. I have them together a lot. But I prefer Rodgers to like Will Gordon, let's say, although I do have Will Gordon more than I want right now. But again, my lineups are pretty predictable except for the wild card guys who I'm throwing in at the bottom, but the ones who I'm really focused on are the Gooch, Seifert are my main ones. Those are the ones I'll have the highest ownership of by far. Neesmith also is catching up a little bit. And Thigala.
I just wanted to share something with you real quickly. I was going to do this, but again, we didn't do anything the other day. Just a real quick recap of last week, because again, we didn't do anything Monday or Tuesday. As far as ownership predictions goes, the guys that the industry kind of got wrong the most was Hadwin. They had Hadwin. He was like 6% more owned than people thought. Answer, Ian Poulter actually. The guys that kind of got wrong on the other side of the equation actually was Dustin Johnson. He was 3% less owned than they thought. But overall, I talk about this, whatever ownership places you look to, I mean, they do a really, really good job of it. And the best way, actually, if you average them all, the average of all the predictions, this actually makes sense, did the best of any individual prediction, right? But that makes sense. But again, I really do encourage you guys, you're going to continue to play golf, is to really just continue to check back with ownership projections and check back with, as you were saying, try to find guys in the same price range. You know what I mean? And see what kind of ownership discrepancy you could get inside within price range. Like right now, I guess Dustin Johnson is still rates to be the highest owned player. It's going to be Dustin Johnson, Fleetwood, Finau, Case really at the top. But then English, Lucas Glover, Redmond, Van Rooyen, Burns. I mean, Wolf is interesting. Like Wolf is forget that I almost wish he didn't win last year, because forget that he won last year. I mean, the course is just perfect for him. You know what I mean? Just bombs away. You know what I mean? He's playing with confidence, and he's just expensive enough that people might want to stay off of him. You know what I mean? So maybe, but there are people going to own him too, I suppose. But if you get him, down 12% or something like that. And maybe that's going to be the one that I'm going to be pissed I don't have that much of.
Yeah, it's interesting. A couple guys who you just mentioned those guys, but a couple guys I'm coming off, I realized a little bit that partially due to ownership is Van Ruyen and Doc Redman.
Yeah.
Both guys who I actually like for this course fine, but because of the way I'm doing my build, skipping them and Finau chalky-ish, and then dropping down is sort of the strategy I'm taking. But I don't think those guys are bad plays by any means, and I definitely will have some exposure to them. I'm just going to be well below the field, except for what I sometimes do in that situation when I kind of like the guys is I might jam them together in a big buy-in lineup or something like that, because I do think that they both have win upside in this tournament. But I could say that for about 70 golfers.
Hey, I was going to ask you, one guy that again, my last guy tossed. In other words, another guy I was going to play, but I ended up not playing really. Are you playing any Fratelli?
Yeah, I'm just starting to add him actually to my list. But again, I prefer Stallings a little bit, but I think Fratelli might be sharp. So I'm starting to get some ownership on him, but I don't have it's not like anything crazy.
Okay, so what do you want to do? We'll do a true DFS grind game, right? So what did we do before? So let's just first, I guess, under 7K guy to make, and now we can have fun, right? Under 7, you can't just make the cut. That's no fun. You want to do under 7K guy to make the cut or under 7K guy to finish top 20?
Under 7K guy to, not make the cut. Yeah, let's go top 20.
Top 20. Okay. All right, so I'll go first. Okay. I'm going with Adam Shea.
Okay, I like your pick. I'm going to go with Cam Davis.
Cam Davis. Okay, excellent.
And if this guy just makes the cut, I feel a top 20 is coming. This guy lives on the cut line. He's missed by a stroke every time out.
Funny.
But all the stats look pretty good on him still. I would say him or Keith Mitchell would have been my answer. So one of those two.
Keith Mitchell. I got to get some of Keith Mitchell. I don't have any of him. I got to get a little. Yeah. I got to get a little sprinkle.
And then the really long shot one is the Thigala play, but
is who?
Thigala.
Okay. Now, okay. So how about we'll do a guy over 9K to not make the cut then.
Okay.
Well, those are easy.
Is it?
Okay, yeah, over 9K. Let's do it. Over 9K to not make the cut.
I'm sure one of them won't. I just don't know that I love it. All right, go ahead. See, do you have somebody? I guess.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna wimp out and say. I was gonna wimp out and say Henley. But all right, we'll have some fun. I'll go Bubba Watson.
Yeah, I know. I don't have that much Bubba this week, and it's kind of weird because I could actually see him playing well, but I just not the way that I'm building personally. Maybe I'll throw him into a couple of my Casey lineups if I need to differentiate a little bit. But I would probably go with Bubba or Matt Wolff actually as the most likely to miss the cut if things go badly. I actually think Wolff would be a decent
we're gonna go over 8K, or excuse me, under we'll say, I guess, under 9K to make top 5.
Okay. All right. Do you want to go first on this one?
No, you can go first on this one.
Under 9. I'm gonna take a shot here. I would have said EVR before the tournament. I think I'm gonna say Patrick Rogers. But I actually want to say Johnny Vegas, but he's my under 8K guy. How about you?
Did we do an under 8K guy for anything?
Let's do an under 8K guy next. That's why I'm going to save Johnny Vegas. I'll just do Patrick Rogers for this.
Okay, so under 9K for top 5. Yeah, I'm gonna go with yours. I'm gonna go with Patrick Rogers. I think.
Oh wow, okay. Patrick Rogers, not getting although the ownership's creeping up on him, but not getting a crazy amount on him. So I really like Rogers. I actually like Sam Burns too as a potential, but I only have to skip Redmond and Van Ruyen because I'm not playing them quite as much. Basically in this range, I'm other than Homa and Rogers, I'm not really and Burns. I'm not really touching anybody else.
So we'll go under 8K to make top 10, and then we'll just pick someone to win the tournament. Okay, under 8K to make top 10.
Vegas.
I'm going with Charles Howell.
I like that.
And
I should have said Seifert if I was really being. You know what? I should have said Seifert.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Okay, and to win the tournament, dude, I'm telling you, that's 2 weeks in a row. I had Morikawa and Rahm.
Yeah.
And I got 2 in a row. So this one's gonna be, oh, this is so brutal. But all right, let's do it. Let's go with the torn ACL. We'll go with Koepka. And there you go.
I love it. Okay, so I obviously have to lock Koepka in now that we know that the guy who picks all the winners is gonna pick him. I'm gonna say Tommy Fleetwood.
I like it.
That's just my personal take. But I honestly am telling you, I have this weird feeling you're gonna see one of these really other guys, and I actually think that Vegas, Rogers, and Sam Burns are all gonna be right in there. So I like those guys a lot too.
This what I'm about to say could, I mean, on another day would prompt like another half-hour discussion about GPPs and the way things work. But I might also say probably best bet to not make the cut is Koepka also. So it's a
good point. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, that's what we want though, isn't it? I mean,
yep. He could also, I mean, there are variations where he goes +2 round 1 and doesn't even show up for Friday. You know what I mean? That's certainly possible. But I'm willing to try it. And we got a lot to do and plenty of chances over the next 7 days to win 6 figures. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so let's
hopefully we'll have some cut sweat shows for you guys not cut sweats, but we'll have cut sweat show, but we'll have some regular sweat shows.
All right, sounds good, man.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you at the top of the leaderboards this weekend. Good luck out there.